चले राज्यसभा, जहां वित्त मंत्री अरुण जेटली आज जीएसटी संविधान संशोधन विधेयक पर हुई चर्चा का जवाब दे रहे हैं।
The Parliament is sovereign in the matter of making laws in relation to taxation, which are central laws. The state legislatures also have their sovereignty. Now, both of them are going to retain that sovereignty, but for the purposes of decision making, we are experimenting a new idea in a federal polity, where a pooled sovereignty will come in. The center and the states will sit together and have a uniform tax structure. Now, let me at the very outset clarify that in this uniform tax structure, both center and states need to have an effective state. I used this phrase last week and I am repeating it again in this House, something that a large number of members have said today. Mr. Sitaram Yechury in particular repeated it twice, that the Constitution itself envisages federalism and mentions India as a union of states. The states admittedly have to be stronger, but the union also must be there. The union of states can't exist without the union being there. India is not a confederation of states, it's a union of states. And therefore, to envisage a tax system as has been suggested by some honorable members, where effectively the union government gets excluded in the matters of taxation policy. Now, what was the system which was envisaged? The 2011 bill, and please I should not be misunderstood, मेरा उद्देश्य ये नहीं है कि मैं ये कहूं कि उसमें ये गलतियां थी, क्योंकि स्वाभाविक है कि इस तरह का कानून जब समय में चर्चा होती है तो सुधरता है, हर दिन सुधरता है। तो 2011 के कानून में यह लिखा था कि कंसेंसस के माध्यम से निर्णय होंगे। अब प्रश्न यह आया कि कंसेंसस का अर्थ क्या है? Is consensus unanimity? Is consensus 75% of the vote, 80% of the vote? It was generally a word consensus. Obviously, the intention was very good, but to implement it specifically was very difficult. So the standing committee said a better system would be, and this was all political parties in that standing committee, which created a new system or suggested a new system to say that states must have 2/3 of the votes, center will have 1/3 of the votes, but the quorum required for succeeding should be 3/4. Now, it is half truth when you say the center has a veto on the states. The states also have a veto on the center. So both have a veto on each other, and therefore the constitutional structure they suggested was a structure by virtue of which both center and states are compelled to work with each other and reach an arrangement with minimum 75% people agreeing. But a happier situation is where almost everybody agrees. So the GST Council, and who is the Council? The Council effectively represents us, all of us who are sitting here. We are the Council of States. They are the state governments which have elected us, the state legislators. So effectively the same view. So today if the GST Council makes a suggestion, there will be 7 or 8 finance ministers of the Congress party, there will be a finance minister of the Samajwadi party, there will be 2 of the CPM, there will be 1 of Trinamool, there will be 1 of AIDMK. So almost every political party which is in power in some part of the country or the other would be almost directly represented, or in future is likely to be represented. So that council, along with the central government nominees, is the one which will take all these decisions. And if we look at the structure of the empowerment which is given, the powers of parliament are not taken away. The powers of state legislatures are not taken away. The council has been given functions. If we look at the amendment, clause after clause it is said Notwithstanding anything contained, Parliament may, and subject to clause 2, the power make laws. Parliament will make this law. State legislatures will make this law. Now, in particular, with regard to taxation, there are two matters in which a greater emphasis has been added, where it is specifically said that Parliament will make a law on the recommendation of the Council. So, Council will recommend to us and we will make a law. One is for the purposes of IGST. For the reason that if goods travel from Kerala to Tamil Nadu, who will adjudicate? Either of the two states. The one state will adjudicate on the rights of the other. So since the central is adjudicating, but it affects the rights of the states, the power is with the center, but our law will be based on what the Council says, which has 2/3 of the majority of the states. And the second more binding principle is the compensation principle, which says, as far as the compensation is concerned, and that is the point that Derek made, and this language has been changed to give comfort to the state governments. Normally, the authority of Parliament is supreme. So the Constitution throughout says Parliament may make a law. So out of respect for Parliament, we always use the word may. But the states had an apprehension because of some reason. What if Parliament does not make a law? So they made a suggestion which the legislative department felt was not correct, but we still incorporated it. Please put Parliament shall make a law. So this is going to be the only provision where Parliament is mandated rather than requested to provide for compensation. And this law will also be made on the recommendation of the GST Council, so that we don't make unilaterally a law of our own choice, so we act on the advice of the Council. Otherwise, in every other area, and this will answer most of the questions raised in the debate, and I'll just read one more clause from this proposed bill. Goods and Services Tax Council will make recommendation to the Union and the states. वो दोनों को ये सुझाव देगी, recommendations क्या? One, on taxes, cesses, surcharges levied by union, states or local bodies which are to be subsumed in the goods and services tax. Goods and services that may be subjected to or exempted. अब किसको exemption मिलेगा, किसको नहीं मिलेगा? This will be recommended by the Goods and Services Tax Council, which will be recommended to the state assembly or to the center. The model goods and services tax laws, तो जिस कानून की हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं, उसको वो लोग बना के हमारे पास भेजेंगे, और इसलिए स्वाभाविक है कि संसद में उसकी चर्चा होनी अनिवार्य होगी. तीसरा, the threshold limit and the turnover below which goods and services will be exempted. Rates including floor rates with bands and goods and services tax. तो आज बहुत सारी चर्चा चिदम्बरम साहब ने शुरू की कि टैक्स रेट क्या होगा, मैं उसका उत्तर दूंगा. पर जिन लोगों की 2/3 से है, और वो कोई अनजान लोग नहीं है, they are all elected state governments of states and union territories, 30 of them, sitting with the central government. They are going to make a recommendation कि मुझे कितने टैक्स की आवश्यकता है. Are states enemies of the people that they will say that we are going to tax people twice more than it is necessary? If they did that, they'll be voted out of power. So we must trust the sense of responsibility of the states who belong to the same political parties as us, who have in their meeting last week said that our guiding principle is going to be, one, that we will lower the basis of the tax. So we'll lower the present rates. And on lowering the present rates, I think Mr. Anand Sharma just now made a very valid point. आज स्थिति क्या है? सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट एक्साइज चार्ज करती है. लगभग 80% आइटम एक्साइज के 12.5% टैक्स है. यही आनंद जी ने शायद आंकड़ा दिया अभी. राज्य जो वैट चार्ज करते हैं, लगभग 55% आइटम्स पे वैट 14.5% है। अगर इसकी वेटेड एवरेज ले ले तो लगभग 65-70% आइटम्स पे कंबाइंड टैक्स 27% है, राज्य और केंद्र का मिला के। इसमें अब हम सेसेस भी डाल दें, लग्जरी टैक्स डाल दें, ऑक्ट्रॉय और एंट्री टैक्स डाल दें, और जितने छोटे छोटे टैक्स लगते हैं वो सब डाल दें, तो ये फिगर 30 या 30 से भी ऊपर चली जाती है। अब आज उस आंकड़े के ऊपर जब वो टैक्स स्टेट्स और सेंटर में बंटता है तो उससे गुजारा चलता है। लेकिन जीएसटी आने के बाद कम से कम 3 परिवर्तन आएंगे। पहला परिवर्तन ये होगा, और जो चिदम्बरम साहब ने ठीक कहा, आई थिंक ही मेड अ वैलिड पॉइंट व्हेन ही सेड द सिस्टम विल बी मोर एफिशिएंट, it will be more compliant, there'll be avoidance is becoming more difficult because you'll be detected at some stage or the other. So from your raw material purchase right till the transfer of goods, every stage of value addition, when it enters the network, right till the point it is sold, and if at some stage it enters the system, it is possible to track out the transaction and then check evasion. Now, once this is possible, the system will become more efficient. The second will be that there will be no cascading effect of tax on tax. आज अगर 6 स्टेजेस पे टैक्स लगता है, तो हर स्टेज पे जो पहले टैक्स दिया गया है उस टैक्स कंपोनेंट पे भी टैक्स लगता है। तो जीएसटी में देयर विल बी नो टैक्स ऑन टैक्स, तो वो उसकी दर कम आएगी। तीसरा इसके साथ एक और तर्क है कि कई आइटम्स ऐसे हैं जिसके ऊपर या लोअर रेट का टैक्स लगेगा या टैक्स नहीं लगेगा। एंड व्हेन वी स्पीक ऑफ इन्फ्लेशन, लेट मी जस्ट गिव अ फिगर फॉर द बेनिफिट ऑफ दिस हाउस। In the consumer price index, 54% of the CPI basket is tax exempt, GST exempt, as of today. And probably that kind of trend the council will take it into consideration. Why would they want to add to inflation? 32% are taxed at a lower rate, which is currently for the states, for the central government 6%. Only 15% are taxed at the standard rate. So आज भी ये स्थिति है, when all these factors, there being no tax on tax, system becoming more efficient and evasion becoming more difficult, plus lower rate of tax or no tax in certain items, from this 27 to 30% will bring the rate down. How much will it bring down? Over a period of time, it will increase. Now, those who have to decide this say we are guided by 2 factors. Our first factor is that this 27% or 30% is too high. It is inflationary. It costs the people. Therefore, the rate must come down. So, the first guiding principle, and that's a resolution that the state finance ministers passed, that the rate should come down. The second, they said, we will collect what is essential for our present revenue requirements. Every state said, I have a commitment to my own people in terms of poverty alleviation schemes, social sector schemes, in terms of developmental activity. Now it's very easy to speak in terms of, let me put a cap. And let me tell you, even the 18% that you suggested based on the Chief Economic Advisor's report, even if you read that report carefully, there are some factors. When the report went to the state finance ministers, they said our calculations differ. So that's the Chief Economic Advisor's view. But the state finance ministers did not agree with that view. They wanted a slightly higher one because they wanted a cushion. The second factor is that the report does not take into consideration, it's based on the 2013-14 figures. So any cesses that have been levied subsequent to that. That's the first factor that report didn't take into consideration. The second factor it did not take into consideration is the compensation that the center will have to pay to the states. And the chief economic advisor, I've got the report before me, did not say 18%. He gave a band of 16.9 to 18.9%. You can approximately treat it 17 to 19. And if you take it as a band of 17 to 19 and add these two factors, it would move slightly up. He is optimistic that this figure can be maintained, and if this figure can be maintained, it will be a very successful GST. The states were not as optimistic as him. And the states felt that you are expecting us to come down from 27 and 28 and 29 down. Suddenly a 7, 8, 10% fall seems utopian to us, it doesn't seem real. So we are, as we stand today, we are in the realm of a situation where the exact calculations of rupee and a pi will have to be done. That's a economic and an arithmetic exercise. That can't be based on a political desire. The political objective is very clear. I share your objective. The rate has to come down. And therefore, the rate must be reasonable. We'll try for the most reasonable rate. But this is effectively as we stand today as far as the rates are concerned. Now, one of the questions which was raised, and I think to implement a GST is a headache. To be a former finance minister is a luxury now. And therefore, when Mr. Chidambaram said that I went from pillar to post and so did your predecessor, you must seriously today look back why it was not successful. As a political argument, you can say, oh, the Gujarat chief minister at that time did not agree. Let me tell you, put that 2011 bill before the state governments today. Put that before the state governments today, and you will not find one state government proposing the bill in that shape. And I'll tell you the reason why. The first meeting of the State Empowered Committee that I attended, I was told that all the finance ministers, including those of my party, including the Gujarat finance minister, even with the change of government, are not willing to trust the center. And I said, why? They said from 2009, 10 and 11 for 3 years, CST has been promised, and we are in 2014, not a single rupee has been paid. And therefore, from 2014, I promised them in 3 installments, I will pay the CST. So for 14, 15, I paid 1/3 and 1/3 each from the central revenues. And this was a precondition for a dialogue. And every BJP chief minister, NDA chief finance minister also took the same stand. For this year, the 3rd installment is being paid, of which the first part has been paid. So when Derek says, please clear our dues, he's right. This was a precondition that they set. What was the second problem they had? The second problem they had was, if we lose money, how do you compensate us? The 2011 bill did not mention anything about the compensation. So today, when we suggested in the 2014 bill, we'll pay compensation for 5 years, so distrustful were the states of the center that my original proposal was full compensation for 3 years, thereafter 1/2 for 1 year, 1/4 for the 5th year. The state said nothing doing, give us full compensation for 5 years. So the word may, the parliament may by law provide for compensation, they said we don't even trust your may, make it shall. Because your intention has never been to pay. In the past, CST was not paid. That is how may has become shall. It's unprecedented, but that's how may became shall. And therefore, in the 2011 bill, this provision for compensation was not there. And that is why one had, and of course the third question was, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Gujarat, they all at that time belonged to different political parties. These four states were speaking one language. They said, we are manufacturing states. We have invested thousands and thousands of crores for better infrastructure for manufacturing. We have invested more in power. We have invested more in ports. We have invested more on highways and so on. So because we have invested more, and now this is a destination tax, the consuming states will benefit. So I have spent on creating a manufacturing infrastructure. So I am going to lose. What is the methodology of compensating me? And your bill didn't have a provision. So that is why they let this entire process, and I don't think we should actually take it in an adversarial sense that this is Congress BJP. Even amongst the BJP, there were consuming states which had a stand diametrically opposite to the one that Gujarat had, because that depended on the interest of the state itself. And I think Mr. Chidambaram mentioned that the bill has a clumsy drafting because it says that some of the revenue collected will not be a part of the consolidated fund of the center or the consolidated fund of state. And the argument was that every revenue has to go into the consolidated fund. The response is that I think using the word clumsy drafting is a bit too extreme an expression. I thought probably the best draftsperson India ever has was B.N. Rao, who aided Dr. Ambedkar. And the phrase which you call clumsy drafting is verbatim the same if you picked up Article 268(2) of the original Constitution. And this is B.N. Rao's draft, which Dr. Ambedkar, as the chairman of the drafting committee, forwarded. The proceeds in any financial year of any such duty leviable within any state shall not form a part of the consolidated fund of India, but shall be assigned to that state. Similarly, the Constitution has been amended and the same similar language has been included in 269(2). And the reason is the following. Why do you not include a part of the revenue into the consolidated fund? In a GST system, and this is one of the questions that Derek had raised, you can't have the same assessee being assessed simultaneously by the center and the states. So in some cases, Derek's point was, he said below 1.5 crore, the states must do it. It's a functional necessity. We'll have to find an answer to this. The state will do it. In higher cases, the center will do it. Where the center collects the revenue through the computer network, the state share is then credited to the state. Similarly, जहां state इकट्ठा करता है revenue, और वो सेंटर के हिस्से में थोड़ा सा आना है तो इट इज क्रेडिटेड टू द सेंटर. अब उसको अगर कंसोलिडेटेड फंड में डाल दिया सेंटर या स्टेट के, तो फिर पहले संसद आना पड़ेगा, अप्रोप्रिएशन के थ्रू हर राज्य को उसका हिस्सा मिलेगा. सो इफ आई कलेक्ट सम टैक्स फॉर तमिलनाडु विल हैव टू वेट टिल द अप्रोप्रिएशन बिल इज पास्ड बाय द सेंटर बिफोर इट गेट्स दैट रेवेन्यू. एंड टू अवॉइड दैट सिचुएशन, you now have a provision that it will not be credited to the consolidated fund of the center or the state, and therefore the apportionment will take place outside itself. With regard to dispute resolution, what was the position? It is true that the original bill in 2011
I certainly do not claim to be as wise or as clever as the late Shri B.N. Rao. The Honorable Finance Minister pointed out two provisions of the Constitution where the phrase shall not form part of the Consolidated Fund of India is used. I don't dispute that. But it doesn't stop there. But shall not form part of the Consolidated Fund of India, but shall be assigned to that state. Similarly, in 269, shall not form part of the Consolidated Fund of India, but
तो आप अभी देख रहे थे कि किस प्रकार वित्त मंत्री अरुण जेटली जवाब दे रहे थे। आज 6 घंटे की चर्चा राज्यसभा में हुई जीएसटी विधेयक को लेकर और काफी कुछ कोशिश वित्त मंत्री ने अपनी तरफ से की कि सदस्यों की जो भी आशंकाएं हैं, जो भी शक और शुबे हैं, उनको दूर किया जा सके। और उसमें उन्होंने बताया कि जीएसटी काउंसिल जो है वो बहुत महत्वपूर्ण रोल अदा करने वाली है। केंद्र और राज्यों को वही सुझाव देगी, एडवाइस देगी, जिसमें 2/3 मेजोरिटी राज्यों की है। उन्होंने कहा कि ये एक ऐसा सिस्टम बनने जा रहा है जो कि एक पारदर्शी सिस्टम होगा, जिसमें कोई टैक्स इवेजन नहीं कर पाएगा और इसके अलावा टैक्स ऑन टैक्स भी नहीं होगा और कोई भी हिडन टैक्सेस नहीं लगेंगे और टैक्स की दर नीचे आनी चाहिए। सबकी ये कोशिश है जीएसटी के माध्यम से और राज्यों को इसमें निश्चित तौर पर मजबूती मिलेगी। कुल मिलाकर जीएसटी विधेयक जो है इस समय राज्यसभा में एक अहम पड़ाव पर पहुंच गया है। चर्चा का जवाब वित्त मंत्री दे ही रहे हैं और इसके बाद एक एक करके अलग अलग संविधान जो संशोधन पेश किए जाएंगे उन पर पूरी प्रक्रिया होगी, उस पर मत लिया जाएगा और उसके बाद राज्यसभा से ये बिल यहां से पारित होगा और उसके बाद लोकसभा पहुंचेगा और फिर आगे की यात्रा इस बिल की शुरू होगी।
Subclause 1 clearly says, shall be apportioned between the union and the states in the matter provided so and so. And then it further says in 1A, this amount apportioned to a state shall not be a part of the consolidated fund. So it exactly says what you are trying to say. But in any case, I take it was not a case of a clumsy drafting, it had good constitutional precedent. One of the questions raised was with regard to the dispute redressal mechanism. The original bill spoke in terms of a mechanism which would be judicial or quasi-judicial in nature. Now, when it went to the standing committee, the standing committee spoke in one voice. And the standing committee said, and probably the spirit of what the standing committee said was, that these issues are predominantly political. अब मान लीजिए दो राज्यों के बीच में या राज्यों और केंद्रों के बीच में टैक्स की दर कितनी हो इसको लेकर समझौता नहीं हो पाता, या ये झगड़ा है कि कितना मुआवजा किसी राज्य को देना है. These are the kind of disputes which will come up. If there is a stalemate, we are not able to decide as to what the percentage of division between the center and the states is going to be. So the standing committee said this issue is political between the center and the states. Why should we hand it over to a judicial tribunal headed by a judge? Let there be a mechanism which the GST Council itself will decide. This is what the standing committee in spirit said. I have before me the recommendations of standing committee, which were then processed by the Ministry of Finance. And the Ministry of Finance on 11th of March 2014 on paper accepted that recommendation. And therefore the language of what was accepted in March 2014 by the Ministry of Finance and the then Minister of Finance is exactly what I incorporated in the December 2014 amendment. And I am now told your bill is completely flawed. But I did not want a confrontation on this issue. And therefore, when we sat in a process of discussion, one of the questions which was raised and which was broadly the consensus was that there will be a dispute redressal mechanism which will be decided by the GST Council itself. The power vests in the Council to decide that. And therefore, an alternate set of language specifying that was suggested. Probably what was suggested was a better language. I had absolutely no difficulty in accepting that language, because ultimately the spirit of what the Standing Committee had recommended, that the Council must decide the nature of the mechanism required for a dispute redressal. So we accepted that. I have no difficulty in conceding that the 1% additional tax on interstate transfer of goods, sale of goods, was really brought in with the intention of calming these 4 manufacturing states. This would have helped them. An expert opinion even at that time was that this would have a cascading effect. There was a divided opinion on this. And finally, since we were cushioning the states against compensation for loss in 5 years, even if this 1% went away, it would make no difference as far as these 5 states were concerned. Therefore, in the spirit of reconciling the entire issue, we have agreed to this. So, important issues have been raised by several members, particularly the members from Maharashtra have raised it. It applies both to Maharashtra and Karnataka with regard to the entry tax and octroi. Now, when octroi or entry tax is subsumed into the state GST, the state GST itself, the kitty would expand, but the fear is that the municipality could be then starved of funds. That's the entire objective. I have discussed it from the honourable members from Maharashtra who have raised this issue. I also have then, in order to bring about clarity on this issue, discussed with the Chief Minister of Maharashtra yesterday. There are various kinds of solutions which are possible. I have read out the powers of the GST Council, and therefore you can have under Article 243X of the Constitution, which provides for empowering the municipalities to raise taxes. The state government is empowered to have a law which empowers the municipality for their own taxes itself. That is still open. Alternatively, I put it to the Chief Minister that in the state GST law, could you also consider providing a devolution? Since this problem is now really, the entry tax problem is real in the context of Maharashtra and Karnataka. And Maharashtra Chief Minister told me...
Maharashtra is also sitting here.
So I'll look this way. No, I'll certainly look this way. I'll look this way. And therefore, even I must say, in all fairness, even Mr. Praful Patel day before yesterday discussed this issue with me.
Which state is Maharashtra is here also.
Issue, it was also
No, it
issue
applies to the... And therefore, this entire question of the state law itself can give a devolution in favor of the local municipalities itself. And the Chief Minister assured me that he would have absolutely no difficulty in doing that, so that the interest of the municipalities in Maharashtra to be, or particularly Mumbai, which has large amount of funding because of octroi, itself is protected. Tomorrow a situation does not come that a state government refuses to give funds and the municipality itself is unable to reach a fund. That's not a happy situation, and therefore a solution within the framework of the GST is very much workable as far as that is concerned. The AIDMK's basic objection that it hits at federalism. As I have been repeatedly saying, that it's an exercise in which the center and the states are both pooling in their authority. You are not giving up your power in the favor of somebody else. You'll be a part of the exercise of that power. And therefore, with pooled sovereignty, center and the states, if they can come out with a better mechanism and a better system, I think it is in the larger interest to accept that particular proposal. There were several other questions which have been raised by honourable members, particularly a question which Mr. Satish Mishra had raised with regard to clause 21 of the Constitution Amendment, which says that for a specified period, specified in the amendment itself, the President can pass an order altering any of the provisions if he finds that for its better functioning it is required. Now, this is equivalent in an ordinary legislation to a power to remove difficulties, which we have in every ordinary law. Now, the argument was, can there be a constitution amendment in which, after Parliament has passed it, state governments have ratified it, the President has a power to alter some provision even for a temporary period itself. This power is conferred in the President under Article 392 of the Constitution. And therefore, the clause 21 is in consonance. Even the 2011 bill had an identical clause, and most constitution amendments carry that clause, that in case with regard to its functioning there is a difficulty within a given period of time, the President will have a power.
More particularly with respect to 1935 Act and when the new constitution came into force, it says the word uses more particularly in 392.
No, more particularly means it deals with the original. Sir, it deals with the original Constitution. It deals with the original Constitution, but it says, I am reading Article 392, the President may, for the purpose of removing any difficulties, particularly in relation to the transition from the provisions of the Government of India Act 1935 to the provisions of the Constitution, that is, from 1935 to the provisions of the Constitution. So the entire exercise, including this Constitution, by order direct that the Constitution during such period as may be specified by that order have effect subject to such adaptations, whether by way of any modification, addition or omission as he may deem it fit, necessary or expedient. So Article 392 permits the President, empowers the President to make such changes. It's like a power to remove difficulties which is there in every law in order to avoid any difficulties itself. Mr. Naresh Gujral's point that with regard to input credits being taken into consideration or not, these will be decided by the Council. The Council is yet to be constituted. The Council will decide these. And the Council, after it decides this, will make recommendations to that effect. That situation doesn't come. The Constitution Amendment is only an enabling. ये तो केवल अधिकार दे रही है हम लोगों को कि इस प्रकार की काउंसिल और इस प्रकार का अधिकार बनाने के लिए. इसके अंदर वो विषय समाप्त नहीं होता. दूसरा एक विषय which Derek and I think Sitaram had raised with regard to one particular amendment which has been made. With regard to the extent of devolution, there was an error in the recommendation, the drafting, based on the recommendations of the Select Committee. That is only intended to correct that error. We'll be taking that up with the Empowered Committee itself. There was no other intention because we can't allow an error to creep into a constitutional amendment, and therefore that error had to be corrected. I have checked it up myself. I will explain it to the Chairman of the Empowered Committee and the members at their next meeting itself. Sir, the principal concern has been that we must have a uniform tax structure, and I agree with the question which Mr. Chidambaram, Mr. Anand Sharma and several other honourable members have raised, that an effort has to be made to see that the rate is kept at a reasonable extent. I think we should not we are still one step away from there. Today we are passing an amendment which is enabling in character. After it is an enabling amendment is passed, The council is constituted. The council certainly will make its recommendations. Those recommendations, insofar as they relate to state assemblies, will go before the state assemblies, the draft laws. The others will come before the parliament itself. And therefore, when they come up before parliament, parliament will get an adequate opportunity to discuss each one of those laws. And then, even with regard to the quantum, I have already explained that there is today a range of opinion amongst experts and amongst the practitioners. I take the members of the Empowered Committee as practitioners as to what the rate should be. But the guiding principle, I don't think we can take an exception to what the state governments or the state finance ministers have decided. They will also try and keep the rate as low as possible, certainly much lower than what the present situation is. And as compliance increases, the possibility of that rate coming down further would be there. And I'm sure this House, as also the other House, will always have an opportunity to speak on these subjects, to consider these subjects, if we find that it's not working out in a larger public interest. With these few observations, sir, I commend this bill to acceptance.
तो जीएसटी संविधान संशोधन विधेयक पर जो चर्चा आज राज्यसभा में हुई उसका जवाब दे रहे थे वित्त मंत्री अरुण जेटली और उन्होंने कहा कि इस बिल के माध्यम से जो भी आशंकाएं जाहिर की, सदस्यों के जो भी सवाल थे, प्रश्न थे, शक या शुबे थे, उन तमाम बातों को एड्रेस कर रहे थे वित्त मंत्री। और उन्होंने कहा कि इसके माध्यम से किसी की शक्तियां नहीं ली गई हैं, न संसद की न विधानसभाओं की। और उन्होंने कहा हमारे संघीय ढांचे के लिए किसी भी तरह से खतरनाक नहीं होगा, बल्कि उसको और मजबूत बनाएगा, केंद्र को और राज्यों को जो और ज्यादा मजबूती देगा और उनके संबंधों को भी। और उन्होंने कहा कि जो भी जो काउंसिल जीएसटी के लिए बनाई गई है वो सुझाव देगी, अपने विचार देगी, अपने एडवाइस देगी राज्य और केंद्र को।